How are you all? Hope that all of you are fine. We shall begin our English classes with the very first chapter of The Reader Hornbill, The Portrait of the Lady, written by Khushwant Singh. Now, the background regarding the author, it has already been discussed in the earlier slides. We shall directly start with the explanation of the chapter. The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. People said that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband. But that was hard to believe. My grandfather's portrait hung over the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose fitting clothes. His long, white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of a person who would have a wife or children. He looked as if he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. As for my grandmother, being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. She often told us of the games she used to play as a child that seemed quite absurd and undignified on her part, and we treated it like the fables of the prophet she used to tell us. Now, when the lesson opens, we are being introduced with writer Khushwant Singh's grandmother. Khushwant Singh, he basically belongs to Pakistan, and after the divide that took place between India and Pakistan, eventually he was the citizen of India. Khushwant Singh was much attached to to his grandmother, and that's why memorizing whole of the memories of her grandmother, the way she used to look, the way she used to behave, all the childhood, along with the childhood memories, is describing all those things in this chapter. Now, when the lesson opens, for Khushwant Singh, it is very hard to believe when people say that his grandmother, she was young and pretty once upon a time, because since his childhood he had seen his grandmother to be older only, and as far as his grandfather is concerned, his portrait was hung over the mantelpiece in the drawing room. You can see in the image over here. What do you mean by the term mantelpiece? It is a fireplace. There is a fireplace. Obviously, you must be seeing it in the movies also. Okay, in a drawing room or in the living room, a fireplace is there, and the area above that fireplace, it is being termed to as mantelpiece. So above that mantelpiece, the portrait of grandfather, it was being placed in his living room, and he was having a very long bed that seemed as if his grandmother, he was very very older, and it was hard to believe that his grandfather, he would be having wife or children, but his appearance was such, he was looking so much older that it seemed that he could have, there is probability of him having only lots and lots of grandchildren. And when he was when Khushwant Singh was a child, his grandmother, she used to tell him the childhood games that she used to play. Now, the way she was playing, being a child, the games that were being referred to by the grandmother, it seemed quite absurd to the writer, because he was not able to believe that his grandmother, she was capable of playing such sort of games also. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. No, we were certain she had always been as we had known her. Now what the writer is telling, now the physical appearance of the grandmother, it is being described over here, how she was looking. So she was short and bit fat and slightly bent, because she was very old, that's why she was slightly bent. And on her face there were lots and lots of wrinkles. And for since 20 years the poet has seen his grandmother to be like that only. Old, so terribly old, she could not have grown older, and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. Now, since 20 years, the writer, he was observing his grandmother, and she was in the same stage since 20 years, older and older only. But then then the writer goes on telling that the idea that she was pretty, it was quite revolting. He was not able to believe anybody saying that his grandmother, she was pretty, but she has always been beautiful. Now pretty and beautiful, what is the difference between the word pretty and beautiful? Here pretty implies to the external beauty. When somebody is beautiful externally, we imply the term pretty to it, but the term beautiful, it somewhere implies to the internal beauty. So the writer, he is not able to believe that his grandmother, she was physically very beautiful once upon a time, but since he has observed her since his childhood, she has always been very very beautiful. So here the internal beauty of the grandmother, it is being described. Okay, internally she was very beautiful. She hobbled about the house in spotless white, with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop, and the other telling the beads of her rosary. So his grandmother, she was seen moving in the house like the old people used to. Okay, she was balancing her stoop, means she was quite bit bent, and she was trying to balance her weight on a stick, and she was seen moving in the house with having the stick in one hand and the rosary in the other hand. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale puckered face, and her lips constantly moved in unaudible prayer. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. So the puckered face of the grandmother, it is being described. Okay, when the skin gets loosened, so it gets accumulated on the cheek portion of the face. So here that particular stage, it is being referred to, and it was being seen by the writer that she was always chanting prayers that were unaudible, means nobody can listen the prayer, but but a person can know it out. Okay, the person, he or she, is constantly uttering something that is not being heard. And he further goes on comparing grandmother with the winter landscape in the mountains. Now the serenity of the mountains, it is being described over here. The snow covered mountains, how beautiful they look. So the beauty of the grandmother and her piousness, it is being compared to the winter landscape of the snow covered mountains, and the purity that implies that is being seen in it. That gives a sense of peace and contentment, that means self-satisfaction. My grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city, and we were constantly together. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me, in the hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. So since childhood, Khushwant Singh, he was living along with his grandmother, and his parents, they have left him in the care of his grandmother since his childhood, because they had gone to live in the city in order to have a better livelihood. So he was being kept along to live along with his grandmother in the village. And what was the daily routine followed by the grandmother? She used to wake him up early in the morning and get him ready for the school. And she was having the habit of chanting the morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song manner, so that while she used to make him bath, in a hope, she was hoping that if the writer he is going to listen to those prayers, one day he is going to learn it by heart. I listened because I loved her voice, but never bothered to learn it. Then she would fetch my wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk, a tiny earthen ink pot and a red pen, tie them all in a bundle, and hand it to me. After a breakfast of a thick stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it, we went to school. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. So the writer, he never bothered to learn the prayers that were chanted by the grandmother. He listened to those prayers because he loved her voice. Then what was the routine that was followed by the grandmother? She used to plaster the wooden slate. The slate you must be seeing in the picture also, you can see it. The black colored slate. She used to wash that slate and plaster it with the chalk. And she used to get ready the earthen ink pot and the red pen ready for the writer to take them to the school. She would tie them all in the bundle and hand it over to the writer. And what sort of breakfast they were having in the morning? They were having the breakfast of stale chapati. Stale here means basi in Hindi. So they were having the breakfast of stale chapatis with butter and sugar applied on it. And the remaining chapatis that were being left after they have eaten, the grandmother used to take them all along with them in order to feed the dogs in the village. My grandmother always went to school with me because the school was attached to the temple. So why the grandmother? She was accompanying the writer because there was temple attached to the school. The priest taught us the alphabet and the morning prayer. While the children sat in rows on either side of the veranda singing the alphabet or the prayer in a chorus, my grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. So the priest at the temple, he was teaching the religious scriptures and the alphabets and the morning prayer to the children in the school over there. The children were sitting in the row at the veranda singing the alphabets and the prayer in order to learn the things by heart. And his grandmother, she used to sit inside reading the holy scriptures. When we had both finished, we would walk back together. This time the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. They followed us to our home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis we throw to them. And when both of them they had finished, when once the writer he had finished his schooling and the mother she has finished reading the scriptures, both of them they used to go home. And while they used to go home, on their way they used to feed the village dogs with the stale chapatis that she was having the habit of carrying every day. And the dogs, they were seen growling and fighting. Growling means a sort of a sound made by the dogs. They were fighting and growling for the chapatis that were thrown towards them. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. That was a turning point in our friendship. Although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. I used to go to an English school in a motor bus. There were no dogs in the streets, and she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of our city house. So when his grandmothers they were comfortably settled in the city, when they were comfortable living over there, uh, writer's grandmother and he himself they were also called in order to live in the city. So that happened to be the turning point in the relationship of the writer and the grandmother. Although both of them they were sharing the same room, but now the grandmother she was no longer coming along with the writer to drop him to the school. He was going to an English medium school in a motor bus, and because there were no dogs in the streets in the city, her grandmother she had took the habit of feeding the sparrows that used to accumulate themselves in the courtyard of their city house. As the years rolled by, we saw less of each other. For some time, she continued to wake me up and get me ready for school. When I came back, she would ask me what the teacher had taught me. I would tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning. So, as the days passed, for some time she continued to wake the writer up in the morning in order to get ready for the school. So when he used to come back home again, she would ask him, okay, what was being taught to her by the teacher in the school. I would tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes principle, the world being round, etc. So the writer he used to share, okay, he was being taught the rules of science, bit of English, and all those things that were being taught to him in the school. But the grandmother she was unable to understand all those things. It was out of her reach because she was not able to understand what sort of teaching or what sort of education was being given to him in the school. This made her unhappy. She could not help me with my lessons. She did not believe in the things they taught at the English school and was distressed that there was no teaching about God and the scriptures. So, according to her, education consisted of only reading the scriptures, the religious scriptures. But in the English school or the English medium school, the people over there or the education consisted of only enabling the children learn English or science or something else or the different or the other different subjects that were out of reach, that were not that were beyond the imagination of grandmother. She was not able to believe that all such sort of things they were being taught in the school, and she was very dissatisfied that the people over there or the education system did not teach the children the teaching of God and the scriptures and the holy religious scriptures. One day I announced that we were being given music lessons. She was very disturbed. To her, music had lewd association. Lewd association means low association. It was the monopoly of harlots and beggars and not meant for gentlefolk. She said nothing, but her silence meant disapproval. She rarely talked to me after that. Now, one day, when the writer he came to home after completing his school, he announced that he was being given the English lessons over there in the school, and that disturbed his grandmother very much because his grandmother believed that music is a sort of a thing that is associated with low category, low class people, and it was a sort of a thing that was being practiced by only the street people and the beggars, and it was not meant for the gentle folk, or say the people who belong to a certain class, those who were having a sort of a class. It was not meant for the classy people. She didn't utter even a single word. She remained silent, but her silence meant disapproval. Disapproval of what? Disapproval of the child being taught music. After that, she rarely shared a word with the writer. Now, in this session, children, we shall cover up the lesson till here. Hope that you have understood the summary till here. We shall meet in the next session. Till then, goodbye and take care.